Yes, that will be good. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you on this Varta session of ISCD, where today we are talking to some very eminent designers of Jaipur. And I hope, just before we start, I hope everybody will be on mute and so that we would be able to do the conversation smoothly. And if there are any questions which you have regarding our topics or whichever you want to ask them, you can post it in the chat box, which we'll be taking towards the end of the session. Okay. So good evening. So I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Anuja. I'm an associate professor at Indian Institute of Craft and Design, Jaipur. I'm a graduate from fashion design in NIF Chennai and post-graduation from NID Ahmedabad. And currently, I'm actually teaching in soft material design department in ISCD. And today, we are here gathered to have a candid conversation with two of the renowned designers of Jaipur who have made a very strong impact in the Jaipur's traditional hand block printing techniques. And they've created their own signature brand. So I'm presenting here the design duo, Madhulika Singh and Manish Tibrewal. They are both graduates of National Institute of Fashion Technology in Delhi. Madhulika further mastered in the textile design from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. They are now owners of the Rasa fashion and home linen brand. And Manish and Madhulika are known for their experimental and creative use of traditional hand block printing techniques. So Manish, welcome. And to begin, then I would actually ask you the interesting journey which you have had and which we have been hearing for so many years. I guess it's almost like 25 years now, 25 years?
Yeah, it's around 20, 23 years, yeah.
Wow, it's almost like a silver jubilee.
The hair.
Yeah, it actually suits you so much.
Yes.
So I would like to first begin with, if you can just share your experiences about your journey and how you started and made an impact throughout these years. So if you can share some experiences.
Okay. I would like to start with, we would like to start with thanking you, Anuja, for inviting us to this platform. It's always a pleasure to speak to students, especially of the design fraternity and members of the fraternity. It's always been a pleasure.
Right.
And like you just mentioned, this was probably 93. So 27 years ago, both of us graduated from the NIFT in Delhi.
Wow. Wow.
I don't even know how to tell that to students who come to the office.
Yeah, I'm sure many of them who are here also, like, they would be
Yeah, most of them were probably not born by that time.
And they're going to log out very soon.
Yeah. So then after the NIFT, Madhu went on to do a master's in textiles from NID. While I was working in Mumbai, and I was doing a little bit of men's clothing for Bollywood and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun.
He was dressing Govinda actually.
Bullshit.
In those
Wow.
That's the truth, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of Govinda, but that was not the mainstay. And somehow fate got us to Jaipur. And though, we were not really print enthusiasts at design school. But like they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. When you landed in Jaipur, you realized that it was all about prints. And so...
Yeah, you might as well take
from
the environment.
And you do get inspired by what you see around you, and you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and you don't want to get into things which are not conducive to the surroundings around you. So
Right.
This is when we started. We decided to start our block printing. So obviously none of us had any clue about block printing. And so, a very interesting part is how I got to know about a lot of the nuances of the chemicals and the prints and everything, every evening I used to sit at a store in Sanganer, and which used to sell these chemicals. So, in the
You used
evening,
to actually go to buy them.
yeah, we used to go to buy them in the
Just
evening,
hang around longer.
and then we used to hang around longer. And, so the master ji used to come, the karigar used to come, and they used to buy small chemicals. Koi phosphate de do, koi soda de do, koi ye de do. So I used to ask the owner कि ये क्यों ले जा रहा है? So this guy said कि sir ये इसमें लगता है, ये इसमें यूरिया इसमें लगता है. So that is, that was a very good starting point as to getting into the details of what chemicals or whatever ingredients go into print making.
Because there's no official kind of like documentation or anything of what really.
Yeah, I mean there's
the recipes or anything.
Yeah, there's no official. Actually, especially in those years, there was no Google, there was no internet. You could not see where you got things from. I mean, for example, something like when you do a thanda discharge, so it's actually tin chloride. But if you said tin chloride to anyone, they would not understand. It's called tincolite. So
right, tincolite I've heard, of course.
Yeah, so the moment you say tin chloride, no one understands. So those are the the local language is what was so important for us. So then
a little bit of that also. If you would ask anyone the recipe, they would be like, आप तो NID गए थे, आपको नहीं पढ़ाया.
I think they all think that we are overworked because of that.
Yeah. So and then then we called one printer from Farrukhabad who lived with us, and I think this would be the first time in the history of printing that we actually made a 2-meter table because we didn't have a space. We didn't have any kind of space to so that's how we started. This gentleman, he was lovely. He lived with us and he printed with us. When he went home at night, I used to print because we had hired one tailor, and we had to.
We had to have enough fabric for the next day's sewing. So then what to do because the printer got home.
So I used to print late till 2 in the morning. I'm printing and whatever. I still have some samples of what I printed 25 years ago, and. So that is how it all started. We made our first clothes, took it to the Colonnade in Delhi, and they got a great response. And then somewhere along the line, we got into exports. We met a few people. They said, "Hey, come on, let's work together." So for a few years, the domestic thing took a back seat. And then during the recession of 2008 and 9 in the US, we said, let's rekindle the whole domestic, So that's when we participated in the Amazon Fashion Week for the first time, and we got a great response. And I mean, so this has been the basic essence of our journey in all these years. Yeah, so that's that.
It's like real ground experience, which you have learned through the real experiences.
It's been fun. Very hands-on, and it's been fun. And we cherish every moment of that.
So when we are talking about traditional, you're talking about traditional processes, you're talking about traditional techniques, the local languages and all that. So you took a very traditional craft and you tried to convert that into a very contemporary and a very different look. So and somewhere all of that came from some inspirations or something like that, which when you were designing, because of course, we always, as designers, we see things in a very new perspective. We try to see at least. And so what do you think, like how did all of this came up? And we were actually talking about the whole title of our conversation today is Simplicity Leads to Sophistication. And as far as I understand personally, I've known you for so many years, your brand is a living example of this sentence. So can you put a little light on this aspect?
Yeah, that's it's pretty I mean, I'm going back again 25 years ago when we thought of starting this whole block printing thing. So during those years, this was the late 90s. There were typically 3 different genres of block printing designs which were prevalent in the market. I'm going to share some, slides of what was what was really available at that time, and how we tried to do our own numbers. So here goes. 1 second.
Yeah, it's come.
Okay, so can you see the slide, Anuja? Can everyone?
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay,
yes.
so these are the Western florals which were largely inspired by the late 19th century artist by the name of William Morris. And because during those years, a lot of export work was, the economy had opened up in the early 90s. And so the exports was booming. And lots of customers were from Europe, from the US. So this is their sensibility. So a lot of Sanganer printers were actually printing the William Morris designs and florals in that in that language.
Yeah.
And then this was one language. Then you obviously had the traditional Sanganer and Bagru prints, which had been been passed down from generations from like 300, 400 years. And the third most important prevailing design sensibility in those years was the Mughal designs, which at this point we have to give credit to Bridget Singh, who actually brought this whole Mughal printing nuance to block printing. If you notice, like in the Bagru style and the William Morris style, the fineness did not matter. The precision of printing did not matter so much. It was more about the colors and the designs. But in the Mughal printing, the fineness and the precision of printing was something which was extremely, extremely key. So I think we took a leaf out of this book, and we got to know how much difference precision can actually make to any block print. But since we, consciously, it was not a deliberated effort or anything. But like we did not see ourselves doing any of these three looks. So we started in the first few months, till the time we set up our block printing table and everything, because everyone told us, "Arey, sir, aap kyun karna cha rahe hain? We will only print for you. Why do you want to print on your own?" So it took us a few months to actually set up things. So we started making designs for geometrics, the blocks of...
I think at that point, we were pretty clear what we didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Like it was not, we didn't want to belong or to any of these very looks that were existing. We wanted to have a voice of our own. But we were looking for that at that point,
So then that is where the whole simplicity in design in terms of the checks. Checks and stripes the whole world has been doing for like whatever centuries. But then this is what what we really felt strongly about, and we developed several stripes and checks and geometrics and circles and stuff like that. So
and what do you want to talk about the broken blocks?
Oh yeah, and we actually went to one of the printers in those years, and because obviously when you are so young, you don't have the money and the finances to get so many blocks made, and so we said कि यार आपके पास कोई पुराने blocks हैं which you can give us. So he told us हाँ अभी हमारे.
I'm just going to burn them. So yeah.
So, he pointed to the firing whatever that boiler room and all, and he said बहुत blocks हैं पुराने. They all, we are going to burn them. So see if you want any of those. And it was a gold mine,
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Broken blocks, and which had we not been there would have probably got burned in the next 2 hours. And
oh my God.
So we picked up like 30, 40 blocks, and I can't even tell you what we did with those. Unfortunately, I didn't put images of that of those in the presentation. But these were all, so that was giving a new.
It's because they were all not perfect.
Yeah, they were not perfect.
They had imperfections in them, and then we used the imperfections to our advantage.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, I think amazing.
So that is okay. That is this is one of the first few years. That's me making color. So like I said, for the first 5-7 years, we could not afford anything actually. So I made color for 7 years, from 98 till 2006. I made colors, And so often if I got late, and the printer would be waiting for me, ki sir aayenge tab color banayenge types, and and then very nicely I've written, Madhu gave the instructions, which she still does. And so the ladies and the boy you see in these images, they have been with us for 20 years. So we've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate in that aspect, that our people have really been our pillars of strength, and we've grown with them, they've grown with us. So it's been a wonderful journey. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, this is like really eye-opening, and it's so inspiring the way you have actually gone through the whole process. So I want to ask you one more interesting thing. When you actually we all have undergone our college graduation with a certain type of design philosophies, not design philosophy, design processes, where we have learned a certain process, and we have tried to create something new all the time. So if we see our creative, and you have really gone through and actually broken, I would say, the traditional norms of block printing, which were like that, typical Jal, Bhuta, Bale and all. So one, what were the difficulties initially when you were applying something new to a traditional thing? What were the type of problems that you faced initially when you were designing, or when you were applying the new designs, you can say?
Anuja, the good thing about starting anything new is that you have nothing to lose. You're not, you only have to, you have to answer to yourself. You don't have to prove a point to anyone. So that leaves a lot of room for experimentation, and and you make horrible mistakes sometimes, but then you just take it in your stride, and you have fun with the mistakes. And
mistakes create beautiful things.
Yeah, sometimes, especially in printing, mistakes. Mistakes are the key to certain.
Because you couldn't have thought like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the hand of God.
For example, like broken blocks. I mean, you would not really break your blocks and start printing them.
Right.
Something like that. So, I mean, our design philosophy has been pretty simple, actually. Most importantly, our inspirations come from around us. And like I've said this on many occasions, that and when we look back, it revolves around the local architecture of Jaipur, the jewelry which is which you see, like. Then there's a lot of vintage textiles which sometimes you can feast your eyes upon. And like, we don't have a legacy of inspiration. It's not like, oh, my grandmother had these beautiful pieces or stuff like that. It's not those things. But definitely in and around us, what you see, it's a feast. In fact, a lot of traditional elements. The basis of our design is actually, I would say, the traditional elements around us, which you work upon, get deeper and deeper, and then you arrive at how to present it to the world in a contemporary way. And it's very important. And actually, intrinsically, the forms are very simple. That is why the whole simplicity angle, comes in. The forms are very simple, but you delve deeper and deeper and deeper, and see how much you can extract, because design possibilities are infinite. And the good thing about block printing is that one particular block can be printed in like a million different ways. So it's not that you don't have to make a block by every other way that you want to print it. You can use the same anyways. And then this was in the initial years, and then in the last 5, 7, 10 years, our philosophy has, I wouldn't say shifted, but has lent a little bit towards sustainability, towards recycling, towards minimum wastage, and so because all these things come at the time of designing, you tend to you have to look at these aspects even at the time of design. And we don't really follow trends. That's why but internally one.
Some way we do just look at them, but I don't think we really like.
But since if you keep your eyes and ears open, you start feeling the trend more than actually having to refer to trends, and the world has become so small with every because the trend what might be in Japan will be very different from in Europe and the US and all that. So that's why we probably classify ourselves as classics, and we are pretty much global in appeal. We are extremely fussy about our finish in our textiles and garments, which I just saw that Asha Bakshi is also part of this group, and
yes, of course.
I have to thank all the faculty in the NIFT. I mean, all that we do today is a lot thanks to them in terms of the finishes, in terms of how important it is for things to
Getting it in our system.
to getting it in our system. Because there's nothing, the thing is, nothing is more precious than that. Because
Hi. Proud of you guys.
So, because as the owner of a garment, there is one thing to show it to the world, and there is another thing to actually feel proud of what you're owning. And the pride in what you own actually comes when you take the garment off and when you're putting it in the machine or when you're putting it in the closet, and then you see the the binding inside and you say, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And
and there's some things that only you know about, like nobody else know about them, but they're so special. The only one knows about them.
Right.
The sophistication element, because sophistication, subtlety, these are the same words. Yeah,
but I think when we are talking about block printing, like when you're so specialized and you're talking about simplicity, I also feel that when we're talking about simplicity, when you print it, to get that precision is much more difficult than a normal, phool patti type of block. Is it true?
In fact.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. In fact,
there's not much room for moving around. Yeah.
In fact, when
stripes and all that.
They have to fit into each other.
There is a system in our printing workshop when we hire a new printer. He's asked to first print simple stripes. If a person can print simple stripes properly, the guy is a good printer. Otherwise, he's not.
Wow.
So because
it's a very good test.
Sometimes the simplest things are the most difficult to achieve, which I guess that is but frankly, with due respect to the whole craft of block printing, we've become a bit easy, and I realized that a craft should remain a craft. Like we should not try to make it
like industrial perfection.
Industrial perfection.
Perfection is the only thing that will do.
No, it's
the imperfection is the most
imperfection
beautiful
is very beautiful actually.
Yeah.
So,
really but maintaining the quality, which is very
of course, and then I can just show you what the simple stripes and checks and 1 second.
It's there.
So this is what some of our designs which we've done for export. So if you look at these designs, they are very basic in their form,
Jalis, motis,
In fact, a lot of these designs, if you can, like I was saying, they come from the architecture of Jaipur. Like this particular one, it's from one of the Jalis. This is from a few Jalis. Then these we call these the Kobe stripes. They've come from jewelry. Now these are these are actually circles which are made of stripes, and each stripe is made of a bead. So this is and then you get into fashion again. Simple forms which simple forms put together nicely in a subtle way. I think they can look beautiful. And then you can't position it to a particular year or trend or 70s or 80s. These are pretty much classics. You could take it out from your closet after like 5 years and you would still probably want to wear it.
Yeah, these are all classics. And in fact, you've made it into a very classical sort of language of design, I would say. And the biggest part which I can see here and which you were talking also is that, that elements of design which we learn in our foundation, and there are many students over here, so I would really point it out that, the foundation is like something which you can really develop and take it to a different level. And especially like what I can see. Hello?
Yeah, we're there.
Sorry. So I was saying that, the foundation which we also have got, and I can see all the designs which you are, bringing out. It is a very important part of design development, I would say.
Of course. And like in this particular collection, actually it's just 2 or 3 blocks, but they have been printed, like I mentioned, a block can be printed in various ways. So these have been printed in various different ways to give a different look, but because it's the same block, they become very congruous. The harmony is very, very natural between, in a collection. The same goes for this collection. This is actually just 2 blocks. One is this big paisley and the others are these stripes. So all the garments revolve around these 2 blocks. So it's like I mentioned, initially that, it's how much deeper you get into design of a particular element that you can bring out the best in that.
Absolutely. And also, I would also say that, when we are talking about basics of design and basics of everything, I think as a designer, you have also, as far as I know, you have also worked, and you also mentioning about the sustainability aspect of your brand, where it is the core foundation which you work with. And you were talking about how you work with barmaid artisans to bring their craft into your brand and change the whole language in a manner. So can you please share some experiences from there also?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's quite interesting. Our barmaid story also goes back to about 20 years. And
Wow.
we had somebody from barmaid come over to the office and show us something and said, "Meko, aapko kuch banwana hai," and then we gave some work, and and he would bring it back, and then I don't know if it was usable or not usable, but we would just to keep the whole thing going, we would give him more work, and then he would again bring it back, and also this went on for 5-6 years. And then before we realized it, it was a huge part of our work. Then we are designing specially, and we don't really have, it's not like we're doing orders, we're just doing things on a whim with him.
Yeah, because the thing with barmaid is that there is no time frame. You give something, it might come back to you in like 3 weeks, or it might not come back to you in 3 years. It totally...
So you have to be a little classic in your approach.
Yes. You know what? You can't plan, okay, I will launch this collection in fall, because that fall will not happen. Next fall will also go and your collection will not happen.
Well, it's not really that loose. No. It is a bit loose,
Yeah, it is a bit loose. So again,
it's an unorganized sector, so it's like many things are open-ended. So they will.
Yeah, sure.
And I think the most important thing which I find, and you are also talking about, is the celebration of your craft. When you're talking about barmaid people, and in a manner they are celebrating their crafts in their own manner, and you are also celebrating your designs and everything in a very festival type of a thing. Not in that festival, but the whole feeling is very festive and very, celebration type. You're really enjoying it.
Yes, definitely. And also that it's so, it's open. If they run out of the thread, sometimes we specify something, they'll put something else and send it to us. And it's beautiful. A lot of times it's beautiful.
In this slide, you see, we use a lot of non-twisted floss thread. We don't do the mirror work of barmaid, but we use the
that's the technique.
That's the technique we are fast. So the first 2 images on the left-hand side of the cushion cover and the embroidery pattern, this is a typical barmaid, product. Yeah, but this is not something from here we've gone into. These are jackets which are fully embroidered with the barmaid technique. the three jackets, and this is a bed cover, which again is a very simple form of concentric circles, which has been totally covered with thread by the Barmeri ladies, which is beautiful actually. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and
We love the
yeah,
technique.
we love the
Yeah.
technique. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You really celebrate whatever you do. It's so amazing, and I think that is why the whole passion comes out in your work. It's so different, and yeah, seriously, I mean, it's so inspiring. And so when you were working with artisans and especially the women artisans over there, I think you have a group of artisans, the women artisans at your place also. So, the thought is coming in my mind is that as designers, we are not only responsible for creating new designs just like that, but we have a very bigger role in the society, for the environment. We as designers are responsible people who can actually make changes. As for your brand has evolved, what do you think? Like how do you see this aspect of life? That today you're working with so much of sustainable issues. So if you can just share some examples.
I think it's just a very important part of our life.
Yeah, it's become,
Yeah.
we belong to a generation where, sustainability was not the key word. And in the early 90s, like I mentioned, the economy had opened up. There were
Yeah.
so many different entrepreneurial possibilities. People were going all over the place, making businesses, making the careers, making lives. The international jobs had come into India. So sustainability was always
Just a word.
it's just a
and
word.
Yeah.
The only thing sustainable during those years which you ever talked about was, hey, save a tree, don't waste paper. That was it. There was no talk about
Yeah, and
climate.
sustain your ideas.
Yeah, there was no talk about
In fact, for a younger generation, it will sustain yourself also first.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you need to be sustained.
Absolutely.
There was no talk about climate change. There was no talk about the ozone layer.
Yeah,
There was no
ozone
talk
layer
about
had
started
yeah.
in those years. It was definitely all the synthetic fibers were really strong, the nylons and the terrylene, and plastic was coming in a big
Garden
way.
was big.
Yeah, garden.
Saris,
Yeah.
garden fabrics.
Vimal was really big in the 80s and the 90s from the Reliance brand.
Wow.
And so, we were, like I said, it was only about save a tree. But now sustainability has taken an entirely different meaning. And so in the last 15 years, I would say it means a lot more than what it used to mean 25, 30 years ago. And so
We try and do our best.
Yeah, we
do every little bit.
Yeah, we've actually become part of a consortium. There are 19, 20 of us who have moved to. This was a few years ago. We moved to something called the Jaipur block, where we print under 100% sustainable, at least water sustainable conditions, where a lot of more than 40-50% of the water comes back as drinkable, potable water. And there is water harvesting. There is, I think I had some images of what
The ETP, right?
So that is. I mean,
Okay.
not that we are owners of the entire thing, but we are part of this whole very industrial-looking structure, and so that's the Jaipur block in Bagru, and so all the water. I mean, a lot of work and effort has gone into that in the last 10, 15 years to develop this park, and we are extremely proud of that. At the end of the day, you're not putting bad water into the ground, and you're trying to save as much as you can.
Yeah. And actually, you've become a part of the ecosystem. So coming together and working together and, trying for a similar type of goal also makes a lot of difference together. So I think that's a very, very big initiative, which I think the government was also involved in this thing and the printers together. I think that is what it is, right? The Jaipur block. Hello? Yeah.
Sorry, there was there was a power cut.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, so I was
So,
when you're talking about Jaipur block, I think it was an initiative of the government as well as the printers coming together and having this place, right?
oh yes, of course, it
But
was.
the government was very uninitiated.
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of money coming from the European Union,
Okay.
from
But it was very ideological.
yeah, it was very, it was, I think it was probably for printing, it is one of the only parks in the country where it's legalized, the printing, in the sense you're not, you're not putting harmful waste into the soil. And, because Sanganer does have a history of generations of children being born with disabilities because of the bad water there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this has been a big one for us.
It used to keep bothering us, like where to print and what to do about it. And I think of like-minded people, it was bothering everyone. And then it was just.
So I want to ask another technical question. Like when we are talking about block prints, and you have been printing for so long, so you started with a very small 2-meter table, and today you are in Jaipur block, which is such a big place and with so many tables. So how was the scaling up process? Like, do you still have like limitations that, okay, so many meters can be printed only or something like that? Is there any limitations, do you think so? Or it's a very open-ended place where you can just explore? Like in
No,
the
Scaling up.
Scaling up has never been our forte, frankly. We started off with one gentleman who was our tailor and master and everything, and today we have close to whatever 200, more than 200 people. But it's all been 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. It's never been
Plus 2
plus
plus
2.
1.
It's never been okay. Let's hire 10. It's never been let's hire 10 people. It's always been okay, 2 more people, 1 more person. Even so, the same goes for the printers. And since at least for our domestic fashion line, our prints, while we use very simple blocks and elements, they're printed in a very tedious and a time-consuming manner. So on an average, whereas a block printer would print 25-30 meters of fabric in a day, many of our designs you print like 5 to 6 meters in a day. You can't print more. Yeah. So and also for us, color plays an extremely important role, And
how about fabric? Like usually I see like cottons and all that, but you use a lot of different type of fabrics and a lot of experimentation in terms of fabrics.
Yeah, I guess that was something which happened also because I'm not saying that cotton should not be finished well. Of course, every garment should be finished well, but the time and effort which goes into finishing a cotton garment sometimes does not always justify the final cost which you arrive at. So that was one of the key factors for us to try silks, and I can today proudly say to some extent that Rasa has been instrumental to some extent in taking block printing to the ramp. Because earlier block printing was a very cottage industry, and it was a daily wear. It was never a fashion wear. It was never it was never a fashion garment. It was always, you had in the south, you had the Masulipattnam and the Kalahasti and all that, but it was never really fashion. And I think, to quite an extent that we did try to tread that path, and we have been successful to a certain extent. So
Very successful.
But definitely when we do some export orders which
yeah,
are block printed, we do have issues of time and consistency. But you know, it's also it's a matter of communication, because you know, a lot of times you're explaining your customer, well, you can order the 24 pieces, but you know, they all won't be the same, and like, you know, is that okay with you? And then they are like, if I wanted them the same, I wouldn't have come to you, you know, sort of a thing. People do get it, but we've had that share of trying to convince people that, well, this is block printed, and you know, these lines are going to come, or whatever, or we need 2 months for the order instead of like 1 month because it's going to be block printed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it does, but that's the whole thing. You work within the limitations.
Yeah, like these days when I go to Sanganer, many of the block printers say they've shifted to screen printing. They're having the look of the same block printing, but they have shifted to screen printing only because of this production issue that they need to finish on time and all that. But I guess, yeah, what you're saying is important, that we need to communicate the right things also.
Yeah, you can't you know,
Have you
promise
ever thought of-
something which is not possible in block print, and then you know, try to achieve that and all. Then you're getting it all wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, we also
The medium
convert.
is the medium.
We also do convert once in a while. We do convert our block prints to screen, but we make sure to communicate that to our customers that, you know, this is converted to screen, and fortunately with Photoshop and everything, you know, one can fool around a little bit and try to make those kind of screens, which earlier till Photoshop came about, all the screen artworks were made by hand. So it was very difficult to achieve that look. But now, you know, you can distort the image, make it look like a block, make it look like a relief, whatever, and then just expose the screen.
I
So it
think
becomes
the
much
huge
easier.
problem of scaling up is also availability of printers. Huh?
Yeah.
Like you might want to scale up, but are you going to be able to scale up? Is that sort of skill level available? I don't know. We've always, and like you would get a certain skill level, but if you want something better, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's a limitation.
Okay. Yeah, but I think it's a very challenging thing which you have actually taken up and explored the traditional thing into something which is so contemporary and broken the norms and come up to something so inspiring. And I think today's generation is also looking ahead. They want to do the same things, but somewhere, you know, they are a little lost, as what teenagers are usually lost, of where to go, how to go, and what to do. So I would just like to ask, do you have any key mantra which you can actually give to the young generation, the designers, of how to become a successful entrepreneur, successful career, which they can go ahead? Because you have such a journey.
They need to be lost for a bit, because that's also very important.
Getting lost is extremely important.
Yeah. Do you think?
No, like they say, doing nothing is very important. Sometimes doing nothing is so important that it shapes what you're going to do. And so similarly for getting lost is so important, because it makes you do all the weirdest of things.
And think, it makes you reflect and try, and you know.
Yeah,
You know,
I think today's situation of COVID has forced us all to do the same thing.
Yeah, we're all thinking a lot.
Yeah. And also, you know, this current generation, Anuja, I have said this on many other platforms, that I really think can make a huge difference. And they have, you know, because they've seen what's happening. Like I said, we were an indulgent generation, you know. So we did not really care too much about the goings on around us, and we were more interested in building building the, you know, whatever. But the current generation they have seen the impacts. They are living the impacts. They can make that change. They can make the difference, and I truly believe that they will. You know, I know lots of people think that, but I truly believe that the current generation is going to come out trumps, because they are thinking in those directions.
Sure,
so
they're doing
you know,
amazing things.
some people are doing like beautiful things, amazing things, keeping all the aspects of sustainability of the crafts, of the environment, of everything in mind. So which is, which we never even thought about when we started. So when you start on a decent note, then these things really matter. And our mantra, our most important mantra for students mostly, I mean, whoever's listening is, like contrary to popular belief these days, hard work and discipline is really cool, it's really fashionable. You're not a nerd if you're working hard.
Totally. I accept it. I totally agree to you.
So I think that's it, yeah. And these times shall pass. We shall all get over it. We have to be, as far as our own sustainability is concerned, there's not much one needs really at the end of the day. So we have to introspect a bit, consolidate what we have, and give it our best shot. And I'm sure we'll come out. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Whole time is very different these days. So what do you think, like towards the end, I'll be asking, what do you think is the future of this? How do you think it is after this post-pandemic? What do you think your experience is that how will it come up? How will it shape up? And what do you think is the scope of work after this? Do you?
No, so in terms
I think design will have more importance. Definitely.
Design will have more importance,
because
and
so much more thought will go into every product. Do you
and
really
also,
need it?
and
what is the purpose of the product? Takes on a different meaning now.
Yeah, and also to quite an extent, I think visual appeal will start playing a greater role, because like all of us, all of us have seen that everyone has gone on,
right?
And so now it is here to stay, and so you like what you see. You should like what you see to buy it. So first you have to like it on screen, and so I think visual appeal, there's definitely going to be a shift towards how things photograph and how things look on the screen.
Presentation basically.
So that is definitely going to be, but otherwise, I'm not going to. I mean, we are not saying that things will come back with a bang or something. But yes, we also don't know. We don't even know how long this is going to last. So that is a difficult one.
Yeah, that's
like I said, we need to stay positive. I think all of us need to be positive. Don't be disillusioned. Right. And I'm sure, we can all be fine.
I think a new generation is about to come with a new dimension of life and having technology as a very important part of our lives. And yes, of course, what you're saying, presentation, aesthetics, all of that will become very important. I totally agree what you're saying. Totally.
Yeah.
Anything else which you would like to share with we have a lot of faculties as well as students. So and like Meenakshi ma'am just saying that you have hired a lot of IICD graduates under you. So if you can just
in terms of design, believe me,
we've been very happy, very fortunate and very happy. So.
IICD comes number one on our list. And
thank you.
Yeah, and I know we are from the NIFT and Madhu's from NID, but in today's day and date, it's at par. It's great. Look, IICD, you guys are doing a great job, and we've had some wonderful people from IICD who've done amazing work with us. And since it's a craft institute, they understand the craft, which is so important. And
I think the aesthetics, it's easy to correlate to the aesthetics and the style of the students.
Yeah, and very grounded, I would say, so which is very important, especially when you're working with people in the sector. Being grounded and understanding a little bit of their sensibilities, it's important.
Yeah, I think
it's a vital role.
It's a very big compliment for all of us here at IICD, and even the director ma'am is saying thank you so much. And I think this is right now I can hear this, but I would now open the whole forum to any of the students who would like to ask any questions in the chat box.
I can see some
Yeah,
questions.
so
Yeah,
I have a question from Shivani. And sir, do you think students will be judged on a college degree for a job role in the industry?
I can answer that very clearly actually. So see, when you initially screen through resumes, you definitely, the first thing that you look at is the institute, which is in our context, it's NIFT, NIT, Pearl, IICD. That definitely matters, but that is only the starting point. At that point, after that, the degree or the institute doesn't matter at all. And even you might have a great portfolio, so you might be hired because of your lovely portfolio, but at the end of the day, even that doesn't matter.
It's
2 weeks,
performance at
you're
work.
2 weeks into the job, into an internship, and the employers know exactly what you're made of. You can't fool them. I realized that when we were kids, we couldn't fool them. Now, hopefully we can't be fooled.
Yeah, and I think in all of these, apart from hard work and the attitude, I would say it is also the ethical values which students should have in terms of like जैसे design chori nahi hona या some. There are many part of.
I think somewhere some generally values come right at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
Other than design, how you treat people, your ability
Exactly.
to do teamwork, all
That's what I want to say. It's about collaborating with each other and all of that.
Yeah, it's no use if you're fabulous, but you can't work with anybody. It's really not of much use to any organization. You will not be able to do
and also
anything. So
on our several conversations with few directors of design institutes, we've suggested, I don't know how many have incorporated this, but we've definitely suggested an incorporation of a small module of design ethics. Design ethics, because at the end of the day, that plays a very, very important role when you're working with artisans.
because that's really something you pick up. You're not taught.
Yeah.
So you
I
pick up. If
totally
you're taught, it might be easier to grasp the whole thing. Yeah, a lot of us make mistakes before we realize what we've done, and
Yeah. Totally. I totally agree. And it's a very practical thing which you have said. So any other questions which anybody wants to ask? Okay, I guess the students are already very inspired. I would request.
or totally or totally bored.
I would request Asha ma'am, who's here and she's also listening. If you're there, can you please share your small little inspirational speech towards Madhu and Manish here? She's here. I'm sure she wants to say a lot of things.
Yeah, I don't know where to start actually, but I'll talk about a little experience which I had recently when Kamal Kapoor was in Jaipur to teach. She had come here to teach a module, and I took her to Rasa. We decided to see a few places there, and Rasa was number one on our list, along with the Jaipur Modern. And we walked from Jaipur Modern to Rasa. It was almost on the verge of closing, so we entered the place, and this one I don't think I had visited earlier. But it was such a pleasure to see the collection, to see the garments, and Kamal Kapoor and I go back so many years. Manish and Madhulika have, she's taught them, so she could relate to them. And when, we started looking at the garments as per our habit, we were looking inside out, and, was trying a couple of things, and I was trying a couple of other things, We really had good fun because we were the only two in the, at Rasa. But what I want to tell you is we felt so good when we came out of the store, handling the garments, looking at them. It was true luxury that one felt. And I couldn't stop myself. I immediately sent a message to to Manish, that we went there, and it just made us feel very happy. And I think this is the feel. This is a very, very precious thing for me, and I realized it was very precious for her also. 20
Yeah.
years down the line, we visit a place that makes us feel good and proud.
Yeah.
Is all I can say about them.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
But
much, Asha.
yeah, thank you, and you have a very important role to build that foundation. So thank you.
I don't know about that, but I definitely know that it's a mutual thing. I think it's a chemistry which works between the faculty, the students, and the institution. And I think at the moment also at IICD, the whole atmosphere is very nice, very positive, and everybody is encouraged to do things. So I'm just hoping that we are able to bring back that sort of a feel which was there when you people were at NIFT. And we only looked for excellence. We only aspired for that, and not the curriculum or evaluation or performance.
So true. So true.
I think that is something which really helps in nurturing and developing.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel when we were taught something, we were so excited to try it out. I still
Yes.
remember that. I remember
Yeah,
that.
keep the excitement going. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's the excitement which takes you to the next step. You
Wow.
go further. Yeah, being excited is extremely important.
Yeah. I have another question from Pranati, and she's asking, how has the pandemic affected the textile industry? What are some of the new changes made by Rasa in the current scenario? Particularly, any new approach, not just in design sense, but otherwise also.
Like Asha mentioned, our clothing is pretty detailed and in terms of finish, and so we've always felt that if you go online, people can't see those details. So then they don't want to really. But the pandemic has changed that, and we realized that we need to go online. So unfortunately, we still haven't gone online, but we're in the process. We should be up in a couple of weeks. And so that is when I mentioned, even while talking, that visual appeal is definitely important. Photography and all these things are going to play a big role.
Yeah, true.
But and one big thing, another thing we mentioned about was consolidation of what you have. So in terms of fabrics or whatever, I know we've been working towards minimum wastage, but we need to work even harder towards that. And give the customer its value for money. That's
I think,
important. You can't. I think that's key. That is key. Sorry. Anyway, I think we've not made too many changes. But
right.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the most important things which you're mentioning here in some manner is also the trust value. Like when you're talking about all these things, it's the trust value which the customers have in the brand, and thus that also come up eventually, even while going on.
Of course. Absolutely.
So I think, it was a wonderful thing. Director ma'am is here also, I think so. And she's been inspiring us to, she's been giving comments and all that. So ma'am, if you're here, would you like to say?
Yes, of course, I'm here. I'm very much here. And I'm really grateful to both the designers for spending their time, for this 1 hour long discussion and motivating the students. I'm really grateful to them. And it was a pleasure to listen to all the little details. And I really loved that red and black collection. That was really amazing. So I think lots of lovely things here for all of us to learn and for our students to see, that what all lies ahead and what they can do. So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Really grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Pleasure,
I would
thank
like
you
to thank IICD also here, the whole team which has been supporting back end also. Swati is there and the computer lab whole team is there who is supporting in the technical part. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We would be having this recording online also very soon, which you can see if anybody has missed, you can just pass on the message. And here now I would like to thank you so much, Manish and Madhulika, for sharing so much of enriching experiences and for the future also. We would be bothering you again and again, which we have been doing, to share your experiences to the new generation, coming generation, so that they can also become designers which can again inspire the future generations. So thank
Yeah, and I would like to add
No, it's
just a little thing I would like to add, because when we invite them to the institute, it's all inside. But now these Varta sessions being online and
Yeah.
then being recorded and put on YouTube, I think
Right.
gives a lot of edge. Everybody can see, anybody can see. So I think this is a good thing that pandemic has. I mean, I'm not saying pandemic is good, but it's given us a good opportunity to at least
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
connected wherever we are. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful. It was
Yeah.
a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.